February 1959. Deep in the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, 9 young hikers set out on a journey that would end in one of history's most baffling mysteries. They were experienced. They were prepared. They were students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. None of them would make it home alive. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, a skilled and experienced mountaineer who had completed numerous difficult expeditions. His team included 7 men and 2 women, all of them seasoned hikers who knew the mountains well. They planned to ski across the northern Urals to reach Mount Otorten, a challenging but achievable goal for people of their experience level. They began their trek on January 27th. The journey started normally enough. Photographs taken during the early days show a cheerful group, laughing and joking around their campfire, pushing through the snow with the confidence of people who had done this many times before. One member had to turn back due to illness, which would later save his life. On the night of February 1st, the group set up camp on the slope of a mountain called Kholat Syakhl. The name in the local Mansi language means dead mountain. Instead of camping in the safer forest below, they chose the exposed slope, possibly to practice high-altitude camping in harsh conditions. That decision would prove fatal. When rescuers finally reached the camp 9 days later, what they found made no sense. The tent had been cut open from the inside with a knife. All 9 hikers had fled into the freezing night, in temperatures that would have been -30°C, without their boots, without proper coats, without any of the survival gear that was still neatly stored inside. Tracking their footprints in the snow, rescuers pieced together what happened. The group fled in a panic down the mountain toward a nearby forest. Their tracks showed they were walking, not running, which suggested they were calm enough to move in an organized way. But why they left the tent at all, and why they left without any protection from the cold, remained completely unexplained. The first bodies were found at the edge of the forest beneath a large cedar tree. Igor Dyatlov and Zinaida Kolmogorova were found in positions that suggested they had been trying to crawl back up toward the tent. They had died from hypothermia. Their hands showed signs of a desperate attempt to climb through the snow. The autopsies on the first 5 victims found nothing unusual except hypothermia and the injuries typical of exposure and freezing temperatures. But when the remaining 4 bodies were recovered from beneath a deep snow drift months later in May, the findings were profoundly disturbing. These 4 hikers had suffered massive internal injuries, broken ribs, a crushed chest, a fractured skull, injuries consistent with an enormous external force. But there were no external wounds. No bruising on the skin. As if they had been crushed by something invisible. Then came the most disturbing discovery of all. When investigators tested the clothing of several victims, they found abnormal levels of radioactive contamination. 2 items of clothing tested positive for beta radiation at levels that should not have been present on a simple hiking expedition in the middle of nowhere. Where had the radiation come from? The Soviet government never provided an explanation. One victim, Lyudmila Dubinina, was found in a particularly horrifying state. Her tongue, eyes, and parts of her lips were missing. The Soviet pathologists' report attributed this to natural decomposition and scavenger activity. But the family and independent researchers have always disputed this explanation. The degree of tissue removal was inconsistent with what would be expected from months under the snow. The Soviet government classified all files related to the Dyatlov Pass incident in 1959. They remained sealed for 30 years, only becoming partially accessible after the fall of the Soviet Union. Even then, many documents were missing or incomplete. The official conclusion given at the time was, quote, a compelling unknown force. That phrase has never been satisfactorily explained by any authority. In the decades since, dozens of theories have been proposed. Some researchers believe the group was startled by a sudden avalanche or a slab of snow that shifted beneath their tent, causing them to cut it open and flee in panic before freezing. This theory has gained some support among physicists and mountaineers who have studied the specific snow conditions on that slope. Others point to reports from other hikers in the area that night who described seeing strange glowing orbs of light in the sky above the mountain range. These lights were also reportedly seen by people in nearby towns. Some researchers believe the group encountered a Soviet military test of some kind, perhaps a secret weapon or a rocket test, and that they were exposed to whatever it was and then silenced to protect state secrets. A newer theory proposes the role of infrasound, low-frequency sound waves below the range of human hearing that can be generated by wind passing over certain mountain formations. Infrasound at the right frequency can trigger intense feelings of panic, dread, and even hallucinations. If the group was suddenly overwhelmed by an infrasonic event, it could explain why they fled in absolute terror without taking any survival equipment. The Mansi people who have lived in this region for centuries had their own understanding of the area. They considered Kholat Syakhl, Dead Mountain, to be a place of danger and spiritual significance. Local legend spoke of the mountain as a place where the spirits of the dead gathered. Mansi elders interviewed at the time said that the mountain had always had a bad reputation, and that wise people did not camp on its slopes. In 2019, 60 years after the incident, Russian authorities reopened the investigation. After 2 years of work, they concluded that the most likely cause was an avalanche combined with katabatic winds, cold, dense air flowing rapidly down the mountain slope creating whiteout conditions that disoriented the hikers. The families of the victims rejected this conclusion and have continued to push for a full and transparent investigation. 9 young people lost their lives on that mountain. Igor Dyatlov was 23 years old. The oldest member of the group, Alexander Zolotaryov, was 37 and was later found to have possible ties to Soviet intelligence agencies, adding another layer of mystery to an already deeply complicated story. All 9 names are carved on a memorial stone at the Dyatlov Pass, which is what the area is now officially named. Every year, hikers and researchers visit the pass to pay their respects and to continue the search for answers. The area has become one of the most famous mystery destinations in the world. Expeditions, documentaries, books, and international research teams have all attempted to definitively solve what happened. None have succeeded in producing an explanation that satisfies all the evidence. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains officially unsolved. The files are incomplete. The evidence is contradictory. The witness accounts describe things that resist easy explanation. 9 people died in conditions so extreme and so strange that decades of investigation have produced only more questions. Whatever happened on Dead Mountain on the night of February 1, 1959, the mountain has not given up its secret.